Welcome to the Home Comfort Zone podcast. I'm Theresa, Marketing Manager at All Comfort Services. And today I have Rob Davies from Prairie Grove Insurance. He's the owner at Prairie Grove. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
Today's conversation is about Medicare and just general information about that. And I know you know something about that. Can you help us with that?
Absolutely. So Medicare is actually a federal program for people that are turning 65 or people that might have a disability, for people to go in and get Medicare through their federal program.
What are some of the requirements for Medicare? You said 65 or you have a disability.
Yeah, if you have a disability or you're turning 65. And so people don't understand that your Medicare actually starts on the first day of the month that you turn 65. Okay, unless your birthday is actually on the first of the month, then your Medicare will start the month prior. And as far as enrolling into Medicare, you have 3 months prior to when your Medicare is actually going to start enrolling and getting everything set up through the federal government. And you actually sign up for Medicare through the Social Security Administration. Now, if you're drawing Social Security at 62 or anytime before you turn 65, they automatically assume you're retired. The government does, and they'll just put you into Medicare. So you don't even need to enroll in that. That's the easiest scenario.
So they'll put you in Medicare. Does that mean your coverage for Medicare starts at 62 also when you're retired?
No, it actually starts at 65. It's like I said, it starts the first of the month that you turn 65. So, and then Medicare doesn't necessarily cover everything. There are some gaps in Medicare, and that's where we come in, is we can help you fill those gaps or cover those exposures that Medicare doesn't cover. The biggest one is on Medicare. Well, your Medicare Part A is your hospitalization, and Medicare Part B would be considered everything else, your medical portion of it. And on the medical portion, Medicare only covers 80%. So that other 20%, we want to cover that exposure, and that's where we come in and show people how to do that.
So most people think, well, when I turn 65, I'm going to have Medicare. My insurance is covered. But what you're saying is that there are certain coverages that there's a gap.
Yeah, there's additional coverages that you're going to want to have, either a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan that's going to cover those gaps or those exposures that Medicare doesn't cover.
And that's something that everyone must?
You don't have to have it, but like I said, you're leaving yourself with some huge exposures if you don't. Like I said, the Medicare Part B, which would be your medical portion like surgeries and outpatient surgeries and MRIs and CAT scans, Medicare will only cover 80% of that. So if you end up with a $100,000 medical bill, you could have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses there, and that's where we come in and show you how to cover those gaps in that coverage.
And what that coverage, typically people have an employer that pays for their insurance, and then they retire, and now they need to do something. They may retire at 62 and they'll have to provide fine either through COBRA, or they'll have to find some kind of other insurance that's going to fill the gap between 62 and 65. What type of expense are people looking at when they retire, getting insurance, and then Medicare and getting that supplemental insurance? Well,
the thing about it is, say somebody wanted to retire at 62 or 63 or whatever it might be, you do have an option through your employer called COBRA that will last for 18 months, and typically that's pretty expensive. Otherwise, what we can look at is what's called the ACA, or the Affordable Care Act, and that's going to be based off your current income for the next 12 months, and being retired, your income is not nearly as high as it used to be when you were working, so it's a lot more affordable than what people think it would be to bridge that gap between retirement and the start of Medicare. And we also do have some plans that are available. If somebody was retiring and they only had 2 to 4 months, we can always get a short-term type policy to cover just that little bit or that small gap.
Someone's retiring and they need to figure out their insurance piece before Medicare. And then if they've already done their Social Security, the government already puts them into Medicare, enrolls them into Medicare. Otherwise, would someone have to make sure they get in and enrolled in order to get it all set up by the time they're 65?
Yeah, basically what happens is if you're not drawing Social Security when you're turning 65, then there's a couple things we can do. Is you can Well, number one is you don't have to draw your Social Security at 65. And so in that situation, you actually have to manually enroll into Medicare. Okay, and you do that through the Social Security Administration. You'll need to get a My Social Security account, and we can help people set up. And we have videos and stuff like that that'll show people how to do that, but you'll need to sign up for Medicare Part A and B. Now, if you're not going to draw Social Security until you're 67 or 68 or whatever it might be, the Medicare Part B premium, typically, because there is a premium for it, is for 2025 is $185 per month. Now that is based off income, so it could be higher or lower depending on what your income is. And what they do is they actually bill you on a quarterly basis. So you receive that bill on a quarterly basis, and so it'd be $555 you'd have to pay quarterly for your Medicare Part B or for the medical portion of this. If you're drawing Social Security and you're enrolled into Medicare, they automatically take that out of your Social Security check, so you don't even see the money. They just take it before you even get it.
Is there anything else that folks need to know or to be prepared for Medicare?
Well, you just want to make sure, I mean, we always recommend, obviously we recommend using some type of an agent or an advisor because number one, there's a lot of moving parts to Medicare. Okay, you've got your Medicare Part A, B, C, D. It just, it can be very, very confusing. So like I said, your Medicare Part A is your hospitalization, and your Medicare Part B is the medical portion, and that's considered your original Medicare. So when you're signing up through the Social Security Administration, that's what you're actually signing up for. The Medicare Part D is in drugs. We want to make sure that we have a formulary that we actually put all your medications in. We put your zip code in there, and we pick a pharmacy of your choosing, and it lists all the different plans that are available. And so we just want to put you in the least expensive plan. But that portion of it, the Medicare Part D plans, they change on a yearly basis. So it's always good to review those because your medications might change throughout the year. The formularies might change with the plans, the premiums, and so forth. And then Medicare Part C is the Medicare Advantage plans, and those will also change on a yearly basis. So you just really want to make sure you get educated so you know what you're getting yourself into, because in the future, once you're in a plan, sometimes it can be hard to change to a different plan, because there might be some medical underwriting or health questions that you have to go through to actually change from one plan to another.
What are some things that are coming up in 2025 that people need to be aware of or beyond?
Well, one of the biggest changes that happened this year in 2025 is on the Medicare Part D or the drug plans. And the government passed what was called the Inflation Reduction Act a couple of years ago. And basically what it says in there is that nobody has to pay more than $2,000 a year for their medications, which is a good thing. We had people paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year for their medications. So that's one of the biggest changes that happened to Medicare in 2025 is on the Medicare Part D or the drug plans.
And it's nice to have someone who's on top of it, an agent to
and
weed through that.
We stay on top of it because it's always changing. I mean, we have a book right here that explains everything about Medicare, and this is the 2025 edition. Every year we have to revise this and rewrite it because it's changing constantly.
Can people get a copy of that book?
Oh, absolutely. They can go to our website and they can get a copy there, or they can reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to send them a hard copy of the book too, or we can email them a digital form of it if they'd like.
Great. It's a free book?
It's free.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a great service for people to refer to.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you can think of that people might want to know about Medicare as they're on this journey?
Well, one of the biggest exposures that people don't take into consideration is the skilled nursing facilities. Okay, a lot of people think that Medicare is going to cover for a skilled nursing facility. Medicare will only cover 100 days in a skilled nursing facility. Okay, and after that, you're on your own. And that's the biggest exposure that we see people running into, or the biggest expense that people can endure, is if one of either them or a spouse goes into a nursing facility and they don't have proper coverage. So there are plans that are available to help offset those costs as well. But that's one of the biggest exposures that we see as people are going into their retirement years, is they kind of leave out that portion of it, which is they should do something. It's either one of two things. Either you have a plan in place to pay for this, or you're starting to, use your assets, selling cars or whatever it might be to pay for it.
Right. So those are like nursing home situations.
Yep.
And if they need care, 24/7 specialized care.
Yeah, and we do have plans that are available. A lot of times we found that, like long-term care can be a little bit expensive, and it could be a little bit hard to qualify for medically, but they do have plans out called recovery care that will cover you for 1 year in your home, and then 1 year in a skilled nursing facility, and it's a fraction of the price of what long-term care costs. And so a lot of people are choosing to go that route. So at least have something in place to help cover that exposure as well.
Is this something you specialize at Prairie Grove? This is the type of thing that you specialize in?
Absolutely. We don't necessarily just look at people's Medicare. We want to show you all the different exposures that you're going to have when you're retiring. And so, so we definitely look at the obviously the Medicare, and then the health insurance portion of it, or the Medicare. And then we also look at the recovery care or the long-term care, or, covering for the skilled nursing facilities and so forth. And then we also look at Medicare doesn't necessarily cover everything as well. A lot of times there might be something, if, say for an example, if you got cancer or something like that, there might be some Medicare approved service or some things that are not approved by Medicare that you would have to pay on your own. And we show people how to cover those, gaps in coverage as well.
This has been really useful. What are some ways that people can reach out to you to learn more?
Well, they can visit our website. They can always give us a call, or they can actually stop at our office as well.
All right, and where are you guys located?
We're located at 5231 Vogues Road. It's right in Madison, Wisconsin. So
great. Well, Rob, thank you for taking time to talk to us about Medicare today.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep.
All right.